Hi guys. So happy to see you today. Okay, so we are going to start off today in social studies reading a book. It's going to be a little bit below your grade level, but I really want you to think about the message that this book is saying. What point are they trying to get across in this book? So I have the book here, but I'm actually going to use the digital book and read it from there so that you guys can follow along on your screens. You can also get logged into your Kindle app on your iPads, and it's on there. I have provided it for you on there. Okay, so I'm going to get that opened. Okay, it's called Mixed, a colorful story by Ari Chung. I love reading this to my 2-year-old. He's almost 3. He has no idea what it means, but it's such a powerful message. So I really want you to think about that, okay? And my son is half black, FYI. In the beginning, there were 3 colors: reds, yellows, and blues. Reds were the loudest. La, 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 la. Yellows were the brightest. Look how bright they are. And blues were the coolest. Look how cool he is with his shades and his cool car and his hat. Everyone lived in color harmony until, do we know what harmony means? Together, yep. One afternoon, when a red said, "Reds are the best." Look, he has a number 1 sign there. Reds are the best, red. And look at all these people. They look so sad. They're like, what? I can't believe they're trying to claim that they're better than everyone else. The yellows disagreed. They're like, no, we're the best because we're the brightest. The blues were too cool to even respond. They're just like, we don't even have time for this. This is not even worth any of our time. The colors decided to live in separate parts of the city. So we have Redville, Bluetown, and Yellow Heights. But then one day, a yellow noticed a blue, and something happened. I feel so happy when I'm near you, and I feel so calm when I'm with you. Look how happy they are being together. They don't even care that they're different colors. Yellow and blue became inseparable. Life felt so vibrant, but not all the colors were happy about it. Colors shouldn't mix. I don't like yellow's effect on blue. That blue isn't bright enough for yellow. They have some mean things to say about that, man. But yellow and blue loved each other so much, they decided to mix. Look, they're getting married. Together, they created a new color. They named her Green. Green was bright like yellow and calm like blue. But really, she was a color all her own. I like the color green. Everyone was fascinated. I've never seen anything like her before. Even the grumpy colors fell in love with green. Can I hold her? Soon other colors mixed. What do we have? We have red and yellow, and they made orange. The colors began to see new possibilities and mixed. Ooh, look at these ones. And mixed. There were so many new colors and lots of new names. Be careful, Jade. Don't forget your glasses, Lavender. Have fun, Amber. There's a lot of different colors, different shades of colors. The old neighborhoods of Redville, Bluetown, and Yellow Heights didn't make sense anymore. Everyone wanted to live together, so they rebuilt the city. Look, they're taking down the signs. cleaning it all up. The new city was full of color. It wasn't perfect, but it was home. Look how beautiful it is. All of these different colors, they're all mixed together. The end. Okay, so that was an interesting book. Yes. What do we think about that? What is the message that the author was trying to get across in that book? Okay. Yeah, it doesn't matter what you look like, what color you are. It doesn't matter. We can all live together in harmony. Perfect. Okay, so now that we kind of have that idea in our head, we're going to read another story. It's based on true events. And I want you to think about what we learned from the first story and apply it to this story. So we are going to read the book called Game Changer by John McClendon, or it's Game Changer, John McClendon and the Secret Game by John Coy, illustrated by Randy DeBerk. Okay, so that one's going to be in your Hoopla app on your iPad. So we're going to get that opened. And once I get that open, I'm going to share my screen here. Okay. Okay, here we go. Game Changer, John McClendon and the Secret Game. What do we think this is going to be about? Basketball. Yes. It's an interesting book. Just think about that, those colors mixing. Think about that while we're reading this book. Okay. And it's not as fun. We don't get to see all the pictures like we do when we're actually reading the book, but who are you? What are you? Why are you here on this earth? Where are you going? This is Coach John McClendon's 4 questions for his players. On Sunday, March 12, 1944, at 11 in the morning, when most people were still at church, a group of basketball players who thought they were the best in the state of North Carolina piled into 2 cars. The members of the Duke University Medical School team knew they were playing a game, but they didn't all know where they were going or who their opponent would be. The drivers wound around the deserted streets of downtown Durham to make sure nobody was following them. The players covered the windows with quilts so they wouldn't be seen. When the car stopped, the players pulled their coats over their heads and walked through the women's locker room into a gymnasium. Before them stood a timekeeper, 2 referees, and the starting 5 of the North Carolina College of Negroes. The Eagles, under their young coach John McClendon, had 19 wins and 1 loss, but because of segregation, they were prohibited from playing against white teams. On this day, the Eagles were going to break that prohibition. So what does segregated mean? It means to be separate. And what does prohibited or prohibition mean? Like it was banned. It was against the law. Coach McClendon, who learned basketball from James Naismith, the game's founder, stood to the side with his wife, Alice, and their 2 children. McClendon believed basketball could change people's prejudices, and he wanted his children present to see just such a change. The 2 teams warmed up at opposite ends of the locked gymnasium. Players glanced down to size one another up and then turned away. Eventually, there was nothing left to do but play ball. The game started slowly, with dropped passes and shots clanging off the rim. Players on both sides, some of whom had never been this close to a person of a different color, were hesitant to touch or bump into one another. The Duke team of Jack Burgess, Dick Simmons, Homer Sieber, Dave Hubble, and Dick Thistlethwaite took the lead. They had all played college ball and were strong and experienced. They ran their three-man weave, executed give and goes, and launched set shots. This was the game as most people knew it, basketball of the present. The young Eagles gradually settled into their game, though. They applied the pressure defense they learned from Coach McClendon. George Parks and Henry Big Dog Thomas grabbed rebounds and fired outlet passes to Aubrey Stanley, Floyd Cootie Brown, and James Boogie Woogie Hardy. They raced up and down the floor in McClendon's innovative fast break style that emphasized attacking the basket. This was basketball the white players had never seen. The Duke players breathed hard and grabbed their shorts. They'd never imagined the game at this pace. As they gasped for breath, the Eagles, who were in excellent condition because of McClendon's drills, made basket after basket. The Duke players were witnessing something new, basketball of the future. When the game ended, the players were shocked by the score. The Duke team had scored 44 points, which was near its average. The Eagles, though, had 88, doubling Duke's score. It was a stunning display of basketball. There was no question about which team was the best. They beat us real good. They beat us real sharp, Jack Burgess said. What happened next was even more remarkable. The two teams played another game, but this time, black and white players played together to even up the sides in a game of shirts and skins. Oh, that's kind of cool. Meanwhile, word spread around campus that something was happening at the gym. Students climbed up on window ledges and pressed against the glass to see a sight they'd never seen. Look at the people peeking in over there. 19 years before Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech, and 3 years before Jackie Robinson broke the color line in Major League Baseball, black players and white players worked together as teammates in an illegal game in segregated North Carolina. George Parks of the Eagles said later that this game was just God's children horsing around with a basketball. Afterward, the Eagles players invited the Duke players back to their dormitory. They sat around and talked about the game and everything else, the way basketball players do. When it was time for Duke players to go, everybody agreed on a plan. They pledged they would keep the game secret to protect one another and Coach McClendon, who would have been fired or much worse if people found out. A reporter for the Carolina Times, Durham's black weekly newspaper, heard about the game, but he agreed not to publish the story at McClendon's request since the Ku Klux Klan was active and considered race mixing a crime punishable by death. Jack Burgess did write a letter to his family in Montana. We played basketball against a Negro college team. We sure had fun, and I especially had a good time, for most of the fellows playing with me were Southerners. And when the evening was over, most of them had changed their views quite a lot. These players had seen the future, but it would take time for everybody else to see it. 22 years later, in 1966, Texas Western started 5 black players against a heavily favored all-white team from Kentucky for the national championship. Texas Western triumphed, and when they did, news spread around the country. The era of segregated big-time college basketball was ending. Years later, John McClendon, who was inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame for his pioneering coaching career, said, "I just wanted to further the ideas that we all played basketball, that we all played it well, and that we should be playing it together." Today, people don't think twice about players of different skin colors competing with one another on the court, but it wasn't always that way. It took courage to make that future a reality. Coach John McClendon and those brave players who rose to the challenge in the secret game were years ahead of their time. Wow, that's interesting. What do we think of that book? Yeah, that was a really good book about sports, but also about colors mixing. Hence the book Mix that we read at the beginning. Okay, so we are going to do a project. We're going to create a timeline. So I want you to get into your Google Classroom, and in there I have provided you with your assignment. And let me share my screen again. So here in Google Classroom, if you go to your social studies, there's a timeline, sports, and Black history. So I want you to open that assignment. And in there, you'll see a timeline organizer, a Google slide, Google Docs, and then a timeline rubric. So here's what you have to do. So you're going to use the timeline organizer, which I'm going to go over in a minute, to record your information that you will use for your timeline. You'll be finding 6 important dates in Black history that impacted sports. Once you have this done, you have 3 options. So you can create a Google slide. Each event will have its own slide in chronological order. You will create a timeline in Google Docs. That's what this doc is for. Or you can create your own poster, hand-drawn and colored. And you should have a poster board that got sent home with you guys before you left, and you should have your art boxes with you that have colored pencils and markers and crayons in there. Okay, so it's this one, or a poster. You don't have to do all of these. So here's the timeline organizer we're going to look at. So I want you to write down the event, the date of the event. I would like the month, the day, and the year, but if you can't find that, at least hopefully you can get the month and the year at least. And then I want you to describe the event, you know, in like 1 or 2 sentences. You're going to describe what happened at this event. Okay, so here I'm just going to show you a quick little timeline, and it has to do with sports, Black history and sports. So this is a timeline that I found that has a bunch of different things like the Harlem Globetrotters, Olympics, tennis, baseball, Jackie Robinson, all sorts of things in here. So you should be able to find things no problem on the internet. And then here's our rubric. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 categories. So you have an opportunity to get a total of 20 points. So you have 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4 points per category. So we have creativity. I'm looking for a timeline that is like completely original, something you thought of, you didn't take it from someone else, you didn't borrow the design, and you created it yourself. The facts, you should have 6 facts. So if you don't have all 6, you're gonna lose points. Presentation, what does it look like? Does it look good overall? Could it use something else? Is it missing a few things? Is it missing most everything? Or is it missing everything? Organization, which has to do with like, is it easy to read? Are the events in chronological order? We know what chronological order is. That means, you know, dates from oldest to newest, okay? So if it's not easy to read, if you can't read it, the events are not in order, you're gonna lose points. And then your graphics. Is it colorful? And it needs to have at least 3 pictures. whether you draw them, if it's a poster, or you find nice graphics off of the internet, that's fine too. But it needs to be colorful and have 3 pictures. If it does not have 3 pictures, you're going to be losing points. If it's not colorful, you're going to be losing points as well. Okay? Does anybody have any questions about this project? Okay, so first I want you to decide which project you're going to do. So you're going to tell me in the comments section which one you're going to do. Are you going to do a Google slide, a Google Doc, or a homemade poster? Once I have approved that in the chat box, you may begin working, and we're just going to stay here on Zoom, and you can ask me any questions if you need to. Okay? Okay, perfect. Get to work.